We need to talk about what is happening right now because while most new investors were panicking last Friday, the government quietly made one of the most powerful, aggressive economic moves in decades. That is right. While everyone was looking at the red on their screens, Trump just signed a $12 billion rare earth stockpile order to counter China. We already know that China restricted silver on January 1st, and now America has fired back with something really powerful called Project Vault. This wasn't just a sell off we saw, it was a position to reset. Y'all, in this game of war, before everybody starts firing guns, they position themselves. They get their assets in line. And right now, they are doing it with rare earth minerals. That is why we are going to cover that today. And that is why I truly believe that the gold and silver trade is not dead, it is just getting started. As of Sunday, we have already seen gold and silver rally. Just like I told you, gold was a buy even when people didn't want to listen. Over the next 30 minutes, I am going to show you why rare earths are now considered a national security asset and why gold and silver are truly at the beginning of their run. I promise you, do not leave this video because these assets have really positioned themselves for what is coming next. I am going to break down the exact companies that I am looking at right now. We are also going to talk about why the big tech plays like Nvidia might be paused until Q3 or Q4 and where the money is moving instead. So, stop panicking about the headlines. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe because we are going to get into the deep end today. Let's address the elephant in the room regarding the recent market action. Gold and silver didn't collapse last week because the story broke. And they didn't collapse because the fundamentals changed. We kind of covered some of this last week, but it is important to understand that they collapsed because the trade simply got too crowded. When people are making a whole bunch of life-changing money, the system alters the rules a little bit. When too many people are on one side of the boat, the leverage becomes just too big, and that is when the exchange steps in. The CME, the exchange that manages these trades, changed the margins that were necessary on the futures side for silver. It went from something like $25,000 to like $65,000. Now think about what happens when you raise the margin requirements like that. All of a sudden, traders need significantly more money just to hold the positions they already have. If they don't have that capital, what do? They have to liquidate positions just to hold on to what they can. This flushes out the weak hands. The people who just came to gamble and make a quick dollar, they get liquidated and they get shaken out. Don't get me wrong, that move was insane to watch. But you have to remember a golden rule. The market doesn't punish people. The market moves toward clear positioning. We have to understand that. For day traders, that margin hike may hurt. But for swing traders and buy and hold positions, you can sit back and say, hey, this is a great opportunity because the catalyst is still there. What is the catalyst? It is the reason why the price went up in the first place. That didn't change. While everyone was focused on the price dropping, the US government was focused on supply. They understood what was going on. I am loving this chess game that is going on right now. You move a rook, I move a bishop. Trump signed what is called a $12 billion rare earth stockpile. You need to understand that this is not stimulus, and this is not even political. If I'm being honest, this is truly about protecting power. This is military and technology insurance. We need to break down why this is happening. Silver and rare earths are not just commodities anymore. Silver is inside missiles, radar systems, EV motors, satellites, AI infrastructure, and advanced weapons. If you have been here for a while, you have heard me say that. But for the new people, you must understand that you cannot fight a modern war without them. The problem we face is that China owns about 80% to 90% of all rare earth processing. That is a massive choke point. This is why we see America investing in companies like US Rare Earths and MP Materials, because they are trying to position themselves. As an American, you don't want to be relying on China for processing the things that you use every day, especially when those things are critical for defense. We have to give China a point here, because for the longest time, While everyone else was not worrying about it, they built out that infrastructure. But give a point to America too, because they understand that we are 100% a consumerist economy, and China wants to sell their things to America. Project Vault is America using that leverage. I like what Trump is doing here. He is saying, hey, if y'all want to use rare earths and silver as weapons, because China put silver on their rare earth list, which allowed them to restrict it, then I am going to put tariffs on anybody that is doing certain things. Now, tariffs 100% hurt the consumer, but he is willing to take a little pressure here to keep China from actually strangling us. At the end of the day, I have always said that you don't want to see an America that is not the reserve currency and that is not the world's big dog. We have been America since the 1940s or 50s. Think of Project Vault like a strategic petroleum reserve, but for technology, defense, and energy. The word stockpile is the key here. Stockpile means guaranteed demand. Guaranteed demand means visibility, and visibility attracts capital. Trump is putting it out there. Hey, here is a $12 billion stockpile on rare earth minerals. That is going to attract money into the sector, specifically into companies that do the processing. Under Section 232, the president has the authority to restrict imports at any time something is threatened to national security. This is how steel tariffs happened, how aluminum tariffs happened, and how chip controls happened. Once something is labeled as a national security issue, free markets stop existing. Rare earths and silver are no longer just commodities, people. They are strategic assets because China put them on its restrictive list, and now America is doing the same. We are watching the number one and number two countries in the world battle for positioning. I think China is attacking, and I think America is defending, and that is always the nature of the game. Now, let's get into the specific assets. I want to talk about two stocks that you really should be looking at. The first one, U.S. Rare Earths. I talked about this stock at the beginning of the year, and I talked about it again 2 weeks ago. I'm telling you again, the USA is focused on domestic rare earth supply, and more importantly, domestic processing. In this environment, the buyer isn't just Wall Street. The buyer is the U.S. government. This is a long-term play. Disclaimer, this is not financial advice. I'm just telling you why I own 3,000 shares in my portfolio that I show every day on Trapping Tuesdays. The reason I own these shares is that the government doesn't buy on negotiable margins. They guarantee volume. U.S. rare earths will have some swings, but if you can hold out, these are the critical parts of where we are going. Next on the list is CRML, Critical Materials. Think about this. When Trump made the minerals announcement, these two companies had been on a tear. CRML was up 7.78% just last week after that news. The USA has been running since then and is up again today. CRML represents strategic materials and supply chain security. These are not just trades. These are rebuilds for America. As America starts to rebuild its industrial base, there is so much noise out there that people don't get to see what is really going on because they are so focused on the headlines. You really should be focused on positioning. Put CRML and USA on your list. Let's circle back to silver for a second because this is where most people get shaken out. We know China restricted silver on January 1st. We understand that. But you must remember that silver is essential for everything. There is no electronic device being used that silver is not a part of. No solar panels, no satellites, no advanced electronics. China controls the processing for a lot of this. But we also have to remember that silver is a byproduct. You can't just go drill for silver easily. It is a byproduct of gold, copper, lead, and other things. Because China has the choke code on that, Trump had to do what he had to do, so we can get some of that control back. They asked the question, did China lose control over the silver process last Friday? No, they did not. But something has changed. Positioning changed, not the fundamentals. This is what most people are going to miss. If the reason you bought something hasn't changed, the sell-off is information, not danger. The reason why we were in silver and gold, debasement, supply shortages, industrial demand, that didn't change. I am going to say something that might not be popular right now. The real money is not in Nvidia any longer, at least not right now. Maybe in Q3, maybe Q4, after the market sells off and retreats and rebuilds. But the lead has changed. The next money right now is in infrastructure and memory, and specifically, it is in energy. I want to talk about a company right now called Bloom Energy. Bloom Energy provides on site power for data centers, AI facilities, and defense installations. When grids fail, Bloom works. This has been a sleeper for a lot of people, but I have been watching it and positioning myself. You have to understand that AI doesn't run on chips alone. It runs on electricity. This is why companies like BE will win and keep running. These are great pullback buys. When they pull back, you buy. The one that I have been winning on big time is GE Vernova. This is grid modernization, power generation, and energy security. Wars, whether economic or kinetic, are fought with logistics and power, not just headlines. Headlines fuel what people think is going to happen, but logistics and power determine reality. If you look right now, you can see companies like GEV and BE outperforming major tech stocks. Why? Because as traders and investors, we have to learn how to spot discounts, but also learn where the money is going. Once we learn where the money is going, we follow the money. It is not in your best interest to go against the flow. You want to say, yes, this company is on a discount, but this is where the money is going, so I'll put some money where the discounts are and some where the flow is. That way, you are benefiting on both sides of the deal. That is how we make money in this market. We have to look at the macro picture involving the dollar and China. This won't shock me. China has openly pushed for the world to go to the yuan as the world reserve currency. That is a bold move. They are making trade settlement currency agreements, accumulating gold, and dominating rare earth processing. This is not a collapse of the US. This is a competition. This is a country that is committed to being number one. I'm going to be real. America has to do a lot because they are coming. Reserve currencies aren't given, they are challenged. With everything America has going on right now, they must fight on all levels. With China boldly saying, we want to be the reserve currency, and with everything Trump is doing with tariffs and Project Vault, we have to ask ourselves if we have gained some enemies. Because this is about a vote for global dominance. The market will stay volatile because power is never transferred quietly. You need to expect this volatility. Gold isn't dead, silver isn't broken, rare earths just became new weapons, and rare earths and energy became the new fortune builders. Energy is the bottleneck, and volatility is simply the cost of the transaction. I want to leave you with this thought, and I want you to hear me well. If you wait for clarity, you will miss the move. You have to be able to navigate the noise, and there will be a lot of it. You will hear bull market, bear market, and you will hear about sell-offs. You will get on YouTube and see a bunch of people talking about the market bottoming out. It is on you to be able to navigate that noise because you shouldn't care what the market is doing generally. You want to know where the money is specifically. That is all you should be concerned about. Even when the market is down, when the Nasdaq is down 1.66% and the S&P is down, we can still make money. This isn't luck. This is positioning ourselves where the money is flowing. That is what I want for you. It's your boy, the Wall Street Trapper. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you share this video out with somebody. This is powerful. I love y'all.